GM, GA, GE, wherever you may be. Today, we are bringing on the Woodies team. We have Richard here. We're going to be talking about Woodies, what they have done, and what you can expect in the future. Hello, welcome. So we have Richard here from the Woodies team. So tell us a little about yourself, how you're connected to Woodies NFTs.
Yes, hello as well. Good evening, or probably early good morning. It's just hit midnight here in Germany, so yeah, it's a late one, but you get used to it very quickly. But yeah, my name is Richard, and yeah, I've been involved with Woody since we started the project back in July. Kind of how I got involved in the space was through my photography. So I started doing that at the back end of at the start of last year, and kind of just navigating the space, learning just like everyone else. Kind of right back at the front of photography when no one was kind of interested in it, and then watching that grow and evolve and change. And kind of around July time, I was kind of invited to join Ultra DAO. So it's a DAO for artists by artists, and which is a really cool concept. And DAOs were kind of prominent at that time. So I was like, oh, let's see what this is all about. And yeah, within a couple of weeks, kind of we were talking about this current situation in the NFT space around PFP projects and 10K generatives and stuff, and yeah, basically the Woodies project was born because we were saying, this could be done by us. We have enough talent in the DAO to kind of put this project together and to do it well, and to kind of really find ways to push the boundaries and innovate. And that's kind of what led to the whole thing with Woodies. Yeah, kind of that's where it started in the DAO. It was born out of the DAO, and it's fully supported by the DAO and the DAO, the people in the DAO. And yeah, we started building in July, and we launched the project around the end of September. So we didn't want to rush to do anything. We had seen projects, deliver and within like 2 weeks in some cases, which was quite an achievement, I think. But we wanted to make sure that we took our time and were doing something kind of with purpose and making sure it's high quality, and it kind of just it worked well, and that's what happened. So we launched the project in September. It kind of immediately sold out. We were had a lot of support from the community, and it's kind of been an upward ride ever since. So that's kind of a little bit how I got into the DAO and through the DAO into Woodies. And kind of within the Woodies world, I am more on kind of the marketing, the community side of things. I also do a few other bits and pieces as well within the project, because it's a different way of working because it's led by a DAO. You can kind of lead how you want in a sense, and you can kind of take charge of things, and there's room for that, and it's supported, and it's really just helping drive the value. So kind of we do have titles that kind of loosely link everyone to certain parts of the project, but we tend to find that kind of there's a lot of crossover. And so I think more than anything, it's really interesting to be able to see what's happening in the other parts of the project. So it's not just me with my kind of tunnel vision on marketing and community. I get to see how the art's created, the art direction of some of the side projects we're working on, kind of how the branding is coming together. So all kind of these little bits you get to really experience the whole thing. And I think that's really kind of a new way of working, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. And so as far as the Ultra DAO side of it goes, if someone holds a Woody, do they are they able to participate? Is that considered, say, like a token in the Ultra DAO as well?
No, so the Ultra DAO is it like a different entity to Woodies. For that, we have our own token, and at the moment, actually, the DAO is closed. We closed the application process right before we started working on Woodies, just because we wanted to focus our attention there. And then kind of the intention is to open the DAO back up to applicants. And that will be happening. We're just kind of trying to make sure that we're in the right position to take on new DAO members, and just making sure kind of we have everything set up and in place, because we kind of didn't realize how successful Woodies would be and kind of what that entailed and how it impacted the DAO. And we've been kind of trying to organize things in parallel. So yeah, there will be an option for the DAO for people to be able to enter. And I know there are Woodies community members who are super keen to apply and to access it. But holding a Woody isn't kind of an access token or anything like that to the DAO itself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. I think, a lot of projects aren't even as old as yours is, like it's weird to say that. It's still, at 6 or 7 months old at this point. But there's so much new stuff coming in to the space at all times. So what kind of stuff have you guys been doing that is separating yourselves from other projects?
I think we kind of hit the ground running with that idea of how do we differentiate ourselves. And I think just how we started as a DAO first. We haven't seen any of those projects as of yet. A lot of projects do it the opposite way around. They launch and then they want to start a DAO after the fact. So even just kind of how we formed was kind of unique. And then while we were in the planning phases, the art team were coming up with different concepts for the Woodies before we landed on the ones that we see today. And myself and a few others on the marketing side of things and kind of that part of the team, we didn't know how to build the community without having any visuals. So we spent some time really kind of doing benchmark research and looking at what was successful in the space at the time, what was kind of what were the no's, what were the things to avoid, what was good. And one thing we really noticed was there was a lack of storytelling and a lack of really rich details in the narratives and the characters. And we kind of led with that in terms of marketing and promoting the project. And we found a way to kind of lock in the community and really get them engaged with the content. So, during the 6 to 8 weeks pre-launch was when we told the story of Arden, the main character, and he was the last tree in the forest that had been chopped down, and the other trees that were chopped down and taken away by the logger were the 10,000 trees that we knew would be available to the community to mint on the mint day. So we kind of played all of our key information points about the project. So the minting, the process of minting, we had mint passports as well, which was kind of unique for the time. And we just told a story every time we had information. And with these Woodies going missing because they'd been chopped down from the forest, we had community members going out in real life into the forest with their kids, with their family, and looking for the missing Woodies, which was really awesome for community building. It got them really kind of swept up in the storytelling. And I think this is kind of how we've led the project in a way that we hadn't seen at the time, which was very much kind of engaging people offline while still having a tie-in to NFTs, and then the storytelling and the entertainment side, and then this idea of the environmental. So we had a huge proportion of our proceeds go to our partner charity, Trees for the Future, and that kind of was equivalent to 1 million trees. So it was kind of where could we do things slightly differently, and where could we tell a different story, and where could we really position ourselves as a project that's kind of unique. And those were the kind of the three areas that we sort of ran with. So
And I think that just the whole idea of charitable donations is something that there's not a ton of teams that are doing that in NFTs, but I think it's pretty notable when they do. And especially something like a million tree pledge is something that a lot of people will tie themselves to, fit your lore. And I
Yeah,
was showing it a little before. I mean, I encourage people to go through that lore. It is a long read, but a good read because you guys went depth in there in order to get that backstory, as you mentioned.
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a key part of the project was to make sure we were telling the story, and making sure it weaved into everything that we were doing, every announcement, just everything was very thought through and very meaningful. And I think that's kind of really helped what we've built.
Hmm. Yeah, and is this Wonder Mist now, is that live as of now? Is
Mhm.
this part of what you're working on right now?
Yeah, so what happened was, obviously we're very focused on the community. That's always been key from before we even launched. And right after we launched and we did the donation, we went into a month-long fan art contest. And again, we kind of had recognized that projects had done fan content contests, but they were usually just a few days long or they were a week at tops. And we kind of opened that up for the month,
Hmm.
and it was kind of the perfect amount of time because it gave some people really a good runway to be able to create something phenomenal. And the length and breadth of work that came through the fan art contest was phenomenal. And we had everything from clay animations to someone created a playable game. We had animated content, we had movie trailers, we had knitted core characters. There was like everything you could think of was showcased, and it was really amazing to see the community kind of fall in love with these characters and want to create all sorts of different variations of them. And it was tough, I have to be honest. The team really struggled to pick a winner. And what then happened was afterwards we kind of said, well, what do we do with all this fan art content? Because
Hmm.
it people have put time and energy and effort in, and they really love what we're creating. And this is a community-led project. Like, we can't just let it just disappear into the kind of the archives. And our project lead Chris kind of just said, why don't we come up with this concept here? And he proposed it to the team. And the idea here was that we took 20 pieces from that fan art contest, from a range of different artists, of different skill levels, different mediums, and different kind of followings. So we have everything from kind of Mike Shinoda, Des Lucresh, Amrit Pal Singh, and then all the way down to kind of some lesser known artists who were very new to the space. And we just turned this collection, obviously with their permission, into the Legends of Wondermist. And the idea being there was that each card would have traits of themselves that would be able to be used by future game developers to make them into a playable game. And it was set up that the royalties from the sale of the cards, I think it was like 60% would go directly to each of the artists. So it was a great way for us to kind of fold that fan art contest into the world of Woodies in a kind of, again, in a meaningful way, and to really just make it part of the history of Woodies. And there were so many variations, as you can see just on the screen there. People fell in love with so many artists and were able to discover so many artists. And the beauty of it was that none of those artists knew that that would be an option when they created. So they created purely out of the love of Woodies. And then we've been able to kind of show that back to them by being able to create this collection, and bring them into the world that we're creating. And this is just the start. There's currently a game developers grant that we've released that will allow community members to be able to actually put in proposals to create games, and they can use kind of the generative collection or the Wonder Mist collection, and come up with things. So we're really trying to just find ways to support the community as much as we can, and that was kind of one of the first steps that we took. And like I say, now we have this game developers grant as well available.
Yeah, it's really cool when you're taking something and you have the DAO attached also, and you're really focusing on that community side, community led portion to it, and being able to, you know, holding the NFT is one thing, but being able to say, like, see your name as an artist on this
Yeah.
next step within the project is something that's really cool for the people as well. And I just quickly wanted to go back to the mint pass, because I think
Mhm.
the way that you did that drop was somewhat unique at the time.
Mhm.
So you had three different types
Yep.
of passports. Now, there still are a decent amount that are available. People haven't turned them into the Woodies yet. Could you quickly just go over what the three different passports provide?
Yeah, so kind of the initial concept was when we did this, like I said, the benchmarking research was where are some of the pain points with the projects, and it was often gas wars during a mint.
Mm,
There was bots or whales getting kind of hold of multiples, and just generally leaving a community kind of with a bitter taste in their mouth, which is kind of not how you want to then launch into the next phase of your project. So we kind of were like, how do we do this differently? And the dev team did an incredible job of coming up with this concept where we have the mint passports as ERC 1155s, and you if you bought in bulk, it kind of saved you gas, and just generally it was a lot cheaper experience when minting on gas in general. So it was kind of that was the thinking in terms of the mint passport, and then we kind of phased the launch of it. So we had the pre-sale phase, and we had the DAO passports, the mint DAO ones, the black ones. So people could mint on different days, which kind of broke up the demand for the project across a couple of days. That
mm,
also spread out, any kind of spikes in gas and things like this. Um, and then we had the public sale, and the idea was that we would have these 10,000 passports across the three, and I'll explain the difference in a minute. But we had the 10,000, and then what we did was we set, I think about a week later, the chance to be able to reveal them. And at this point was when you can mint them for an ERC 721, which would obviously incur a second gas fee. Um, but that's when you would reveal your Woody. So again, we told the storyline of when you mint your passport, you're adopting a Woody. So there was an adoption drive, and we used the language around adoption. So again, we kind of linked in the storytelling there, and we kind of gamified it a little bit. So we said, from that day forward, you can mint your Woody at any point, until kind of at some point in the future when we would set a deadline. And what we would do is every week, for 9 weeks, 10 weeks after the mint, we would reveal a core character from the story.
mm,
And if you held on to your mint passport, you were always automatically entered into a raffle each of those weeks. And this was done through Chainlink VRF, and it was provable on chain. And basically it gamified it for 10 weeks, where some people held on to those passports the entire time.
mm,
Some people got impatient after week 2 or week 3 and kind of were desperate to mint. Some people right off the bat, as soon as the minting opened, they wanted to meet their Woodies. So in terms of explaining this new concept to the community, it was very much like the control is now on you.
mm,
You're now empowered to make your own decisions on when it's suitable for you, when gas is suitable for you, when you have the extra money to be able to mint them. So we very much kind of put that control back in the community and added an incentive.
mm,
And that was kind of a little bit of a challenge to explain, because people weren't used to this concept, because they were like, well, I'm paying for gas twice. But what we were trying to explain is, if you're paying 2 lots of gas, let's just say that it's $50, you're only paying $100 in total for these gas transactions. Whereas if we had done a public sale, like we had seen with all these other projects, gas would spike to, nearly $1,000. So I'm like, well, this actually, yes, it's 2 transactions, but actually it works out cheaper.
Mm.
If we do a public sale, plus you're guaranteeing to get yourself one, and you have the control when you mint it. And obviously we incentivized it as well. So that's kind of was innovative, required a lot of communication, a lot of discussions, and making sure we were very clear with what the process was. But actually, the process and the feedback after the mint was overwhelming, that people just generally had a good minting experience and were really surprised how it went, and were very happy. And yeah, that kind of is the kind of the concept of the mint passes, and they've been so popular. It's that process has been taken by our devs to some other projects through the DAO, and I think the last one that it was used is for the Dead Friends collection. They have their passes as well, so kind of it set a precedent of what's possible when you kind of are more mindful about your minting experience in the community. The difference between the two was simply that the pre-sale was for people who got in early enough to mint. Public was obviously the public, and the DAO ones specifically were for the 111 DAO members in the DAO at the time. So they were kind of designed to represent the 111 members. And the only difference in benefit was that when you minted the DAO mint pass, you got an edition number that was between 1 and 111. The rarity and stuff wasn't weighted towards, wasn't weighted towards DAO passes. So it was simply just for people who like low edition numbers. And actually, one of the things that's been innovative as well with Woodies that I haven't seen in fact, I don't think I've come across another project, and I'm sure they're out there, but when you minted your Woody, it generated at the time of mint. So we were one of those projects that didn't have any issues with leaking metadata or having rare ones sniped, or finding out the founders had bought all the rare ones. Like, none of that happened, because literally as you were minting your passport, the Woody was generating on chain, and people loved that experience, and they kept going back and trying again and again and again. So a lot of people enjoyed that experience. And then we kind of, about the beginning of December was when the raffles ended, and we kind of just went on this big marketing push to just get people to mint these passports, because we knew that we were going to have a deadline, because it wasn't feasible to keep this open kind of indefinitely. And we had communicated that before we even minted the project. We were very cognizant of the fact that we want to make sure that people know that these are the mechanisms, these are the benefits, these are the drawbacks, and this is why we're doing the mint passports. This is why it benefits you. This is the thing you have to be mindful of. And one of those was definitely that we would have this mint passport deadline, and it was set for February 15th. So right after we dropped the last core character raffle, which was for the main character Arden, we kind of just really encouraged people to mint then, because there was kind of no further utility for the project. So we've seen a huge influx of new Woodies, which was awesome, because we were like excited to meet them. And then in January, we kind of went full promo mode in terms of making sure we were continually posting out tweets and Discord announcements, and during all of our kind of Q&As or our campfire councils, which are like our weekly check-ins, we were just constantly being like, remember, you need to mint your passports. And then the 2 weeks in February before the deadline was when we kind of ramped things up even further, and kind of did daily stuff to remind people. Even the community members went out and tried to reach out to people. They went digging through wallets on OpenSea. It was a real community effort to get as many of those minted as we could. And we knew we wouldn't see all of the Woodies minted, but we did our best to do that. And even I personally spent some time digging through the on-chain data through Twitter, through OpenSea, to just try and reach out to people and say like, hey, you need to pay attention. So then we ended up with a collection number of 9739. So not quite a fully minted collection, but the deadline's now passed and kind of that's fixed, and that's the final collection number for the Woodies. So all of the leftover mint passports are now kind of just a reminder of the project, and like a memento. And some people actually chose to have them. Some people actually said, I want to have one of each just as a keepsake of the experience. So that's kind of, at the moment, there's no utility. The deadline's closed, so those passports don't have any kind of utility anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And then I think that's something that's somewhat unique as well, where you actually put that that closed off time, but they're still NFTs for the other, wherever that is, 260 or so. As you mentioned, sort of like a memento of former time. But yeah, let's get into a little of sort of what's coming up. I think one thing that really popped out to me that I thought was cool, it's on your bio as well, is you guys have a camping trip coming up. So tell us a little about this camping.
So we're very mindful that our community loves to spend time outdoors. That was very obvious right from before we launched the project. And obviously on our trail guide, which is our equivalent of a roadmap, we had in real life events that we wanted to put together. But with us kind of moving out of this minting phase and wanting to kind of push forward into the next phase of the project, we started just trying to encourage the community to put some stuff together in the meantime. So in the back end of February, a group of Woodies holders got together in Southern California and went one weekend out hiking in Southern California, like I say. So that was kind of the first community-led initiative, and some of our moderators who live there kind of put that together themselves. And that was kind of really awesome to see Woodies holders get together for the first time and go out and do something in nature. And it inspired kind of this next one that's coming up in not this weekend, next weekend, is one of our other community members, Sugar, had set up in North Carolina this weekend where he is for a camping trip. So it's open to the community members. We've had a bunch of community members sign up, and they're bringing their friends and their families and stuff, and they're all going to get together that weekend because it's Earth Day that weekend as well. And they're going to do hikes and photography stuff and spend time together and just really enjoy being in nature. And it's a weekend trip, so it's a little bit more than just a day out hiking. So super excited to kind of see how that turns out, but I'm sure after hearing how successful the hike was, that this will be just as successful. And then on the official side through Woodies, because these two have been community initiatives, is we want to host official Woodies weekends and kind of retreats and stuff that are put on by us, the team. And we actually just hired yesterday one of our members of the community who's a Woodies holder and has been with us for a while. She's now become the event manager and will kind of be coordinating or taking over that coordination in terms of planning those events for community holders, for Woodies holders specifically. And she'll also be kind of assisting any kind of community-led initiatives that will come up in the coming months as well, because I think as more people get together to do stuff, it'll inspire some of the other community members to be like, oh, I can do something near me because there's this really cool hike or something. So I think, having this in-person utility is really starting to come to life, and it's really exciting to see that.
And it's cool. It's still along the lines of the lore as well. Doing stuff in nature, Earth Day. Maybe they decide to plant a tree that weekend or something like that. And like you said, people that maybe don't live near there, then they decide they want to do a community one that's by them. And sort of the beauty of NFTs and the blockchain is just the global reach, and the ways to still be able to meet up with these people in real life if you want to.
Yep.
So that piece is pretty cool. And then are you, as far as like the Woodies team, going to any events or setting up like maybe sort of bigger events at one of these conferences?
Mm-hmm. So Woodies have been officially announced as on the main lineup for the MET AMS in Amsterdam. So in June 14th, we'll have kind of the 4-day event in Amsterdam where Woodies will be there. I'll be actually there myself because I'm here in Europe. So I'll be representing the Woodies, and going to be on the stage talking about the project, about building communities. I'm sure there'll be a bunch of other topics as well, but yeah, we're there in an official capacity, which is kind of exciting because this is like our first in real life event in kind of, or let's just say in-person conference, because we launched the back end of September and we kind of were a little too late to get planning for NYC, NFT NYC last year. So we had a giant billboard during the event, but that's kind of where we got to last year. So we kind of said this year we want to make sure we make an effort to be present in more of an official capacity. So I'm gonna, like I say, be on the main stage lineup for Amsterdam, and we'll be putting on some kind of event there for Woodies holders because I know quite a few from Europe are going to kind of try and turn up for that. And then the week later is NFT NYC. So more of the team will be there just because it's US based. I actually booked my tickets last week to be there as well. And we're busy kind of just planning what that looks like. We're maybe probably more than likely going to do kind of a joint event with some other projects. Because like the beauty of this industry is, yes, you might be a Woodies holder, but you're more than likely, as the top of your screen shows, you're not just exclusive to one community.
Yep.
You're in multiple communities. So, we're going to see more of this cross-project collaboration, cross-project support, both digitally and in person. I think putting on some events will be really cool. So we'll be there in June as well for that.
Yeah, I think the sort of people always talk about like bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3, and that's a way that you can really do it, because maybe you spend the last 6 months interacting with these people online through Discord, Twitter, and that sort of thing, and then now you get to meet them in person at these bigger events. So it's like cool to see all of these teams. Like I feel like I do these interviews like 3 times a week, let's say, and it's probably like becoming closer to 70% of the interviews. They're having some sort of representation at NFT NYC. So that seems like that's going to be the big event of the year. I wonder how they're going to be able to handle it with stuff. I heard there's over 1,000 speakers that they're going to have.
Yeah, I seen that. I was like, wow, that is anyone going to be listening?
Too much. Yeah, you're right. It's almost too many decisions to make.
Yeah.
And do they each get an hour? There's probably, I don't know, 10 at the same time, So that's the part that I'm a little unsure on. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people and teams are trying to go out there during that time. So I'm probably going to try to go out there during that as well, just to see what it's all about. So that part's definitely cool. And you guys have this, the community seems to be pretty high on the list. I noticed that you guys had this post the other day on on coloring pages.
Yep.
So could you tell a little about this, as people, if they're watching the video, they can see a little bit?
So, we're very much a family-friendly project. We're really kind of honed in on that right back, like I say, before we launched, when we had kids running through the forest looking for these missing Woodies. We had some really cute, artwork drawn and videos of these kids running through the forest shouting like, "Woodies, Woodies!" So it really is a family-friendly brand, and we kind of every time we can kind of find ways to just do something small, like it's not small because it takes work, but kind of what seems like a small task is we try and do as much as we can. And we had thought about it, and community members had suggested, like, oh, it'd be awesome to have some coloring pages of our woodies. And yeah, just last week, we added this to the website, and it's not token gated or anything. So you can go through the entire collection and look at the woodies, and you can download the pages. And yeah, it's been really well received. People love this. They've been able to give their kids them. With Easter coming up, I think there'll be many more downloads. To keep the kids happy. And we always love just kind of getting them back as well. So we love when parents can kind of post the images as well, so we can see kind of what they're doing. And we got feedback from community members who've used them in their kind of in their classrooms. Some of them with kind of who help children with that are have difficulties. So it's kind of, there's a whole lot of use cases for them, and they're not just for kids. I've seen a few parents coloring in those as well. So we kind of just it was a small task, like a small kind of let's just say like a small gift to the community, and it's been really well received. And also that week we released some community resources. So we have Twitter banners that are from the different regions of the Woodies world, and your actual Woody has an origin, so you could even use the image from that region. But we've also had them designed that you can insert your own Woodies into them. So you can either use it as a blank template, like you can see on the Woodies Twitter page, or you can kind of put your Woodies in there. And again, the community were like, we would like some resources if it's possible. And we listen, we work on it, and we deliver these kind of little bite-sized bits. And I think it's always really appreciated. And as that grows, we'll get more and more stuff come up. So
I haven't seen like something like this specifically in projects. I've seen some videos here and there where, say, like for a Top Shot pack, someone is opening it with their son or daughter or something like that. But there haven't been a lot of projects that are specifically geared more towards children or the children interaction side. So that part is kind of cool. And I saw on your site you guys have had plans for a Woody's Kids Club. Is that sort of in line with this, or is that something separate?
Yeah, so this is still kind of is in the ideas phase and stuff, but yeah, we very much want to include the youngest members of our community, because these will be the ones who will be growing up with this project, and as they grow older, getting more and more involved with the project, we hope. And the project is a long-term plan, so it'd be great that people can grow up around the Woodies and be part of that journey as well. So we are working on kind of what we can do to incorporate that. And it's great that parents can kind of bring their kids into that kind of learning phase, where it's like, hey, come and learn about this new technology, which is going to be the future, and what you're going to have to grow up around. And what a cool way to do it is to follow the journey of Woodies and learn along the way. And we're very much mindful that we have that audience, and a lot of people do have kids, so it's great that they can kind of incorporate them in some way. So for example, we kind of have on Instagram, we have some masks and like mask filters, and a kind of what's your character filter, so you can interact with those. And we've seen kids like at Halloween posting pictures of themselves as the Woodies and stuff. It was very cool. So that's, yeah, we're very mindful of making sure we're family friendly on that front.
Yeah, and that's something, that another piece that connects people to the community aspect of it. There's a lot of these projects that sort of veer off from that concept. So what other kind of stuff do you guys have on the maybe short term planning right now?
Yeah, so we've touched on a lot of things that are kind of in the trail guide. So it's very much kind of working on the in real life stuff, working on what else is on there. We just had last week our merch drop for holders, so that was one of the things that was on there, and yeah, we've got the things being worked on there, and then in parallel we have a lot of different projects being worked on at the same time, and some of them will probably be released this month. So there's some stuff coming up, and one of the things on the trail guide is the 3D woodies. So they've been in production since November. So the 3D team have been working hard to bring those to life. So, we're getting close to that being finished. So that's something the community is aware of and has kind of seen some sneak previews of and kind of anticipating. But we do have some stuff coming up this next month or the next couple of months that people are not expecting. A couple of the things kind of, again, going back to the Legends of Wondermist, we really want to help support the community to create their own content surrounding the Woodies. This has been a huge part of our project, is supporting the community to basically to create or to co-create. And we're working on kind of some tools that will facilitate that. So there's some announcements coming out on that front about stuff for the community. So that's exciting, and a few other things that I don't want to talk about. So I would just say, kind of, if you're a Woodies holder or if you're anyone paying attention to the project, is yeah, keep your eyes on things over the next few weeks. There's going to be some fun stuff. So
yeah, what sort of difficulties have you found, or you think could be challenges when it comes to sort of the 3D metaverse side of things?
Definitely restrictions. So kind of, obviously we're gearing ours towards Decentraland. So there's obviously the poly counts and making sure things are still looking good, but within the limits. Then you're faced with the challenge of there's multiple multiverses. Multiple metaverses,
Mhm.
and kind of how does that translate with your project in terms of being able to move those characters between those worlds. And we're still just getting to grips with the metaverse. So that's the fact that people are already starting to think, how do we make them interoperable, is kind of already a
Yeah.
step ahead. But it's going to be a question for a lot of projects of how do we navigate this space kind of successfully. I think it's going to be challenging because there's a lot of different projects and a lot of different things happening. But it's a chance for, more so on the dev side, to really kind of get creative and get innovative and really just kind of push the boundaries, see what's possible, and
Mm.
we're already seeing that innovation, and it's really cool. But I think it's just a challenge because it's new.
Yeah.
There is no guide, there is no how to, and there's challenges that crop up with that.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of just projects out there, and there's plenty of these other like metaverse worlds that people might already be attached to. And so it's almost, for some projects, it's almost better to do these other smaller things that are community based, like you guys are doing
Mhm.
the weekend trips and the connecting with
Mhm.
the younger members of the community, as you mentioned before. So if someone's listening, watching to this, what is the best way they can get involved?
Yeah, so definitely joining in the Discord. This is kind of the where the community is kind of really aggregated, and although everyone's super active on Twitter as well, but I think just to get involved is just to start being present in the Discord and kind of just learning about the project, especially if you're new to the project, because there's a lot that's happened, a lot of small steps that build up to the bigger picture of what we're doing. And kind of one of the things we always try to remind people is you don't have to be a holder of an NFT to access the community and to be part of that community and to enjoy that community. And I think this is always a key thing to remind people. And this is what we're thinking when we're building the brand. We have, yes, token gated particular points. So, the merch parts of it was token gated, but we left some of it kind of open to the public. There was, there'll be in-person events that will be like that as well. But, you look at the coloring pages, anyone can go on there and just enjoy the content because it's very rich. It's, they love the characters. And because we have this collection, that's the 10K collection, and then we have the core characters, people can fall in love with the storytelling, all of the artwork and everything else that's coming on that front in terms of the storytelling and things like this. There's so much that you can be part of the community, engage with the community, and enjoy the community without necessarily holding that token. So I kind of always try to keep that in mind when we're building out stuff, but also being mindful to kind of talk about it, that it's okay to not be a holder. You can still enjoy it. So yeah, that would be kind of my little tip on how to get involved or be part of the project.
Cool. And I can link that in the show notes, the Discord, and obviously, if you want to get a part of that Woody's generative collection, as mentioned earlier. Probably don't want to get the passport, at least if you're just starting in with the project. At least make sure you're going through the generative.
Those are no longer available anyway, so you couldn't go down that route if you wanted. So to get involved, it would just be through the generative collection.
Yeah. Cool. And definitely follow on Twitter. It's the at Woodies NFT. That's where you guys will have updates as well. You have sort of that all the different links that people might need on there, including the Discord and those dates, as mentioned before, with the camping trip and the AMS, if people are interested in that as well. So definitely that's a cool way for people to be able to get involved. And, I'm glad that you're able to hop on and chat with us today. I think this is sort of a good time as far as the way your roadmap has been going. It seems like this period where you're about to do a lot of cool stuff. And as you mentioned, about what was that, 6 weeks or so ago is when that last phase of the passports ended. So would you consider this like the beginning of phase 2 for you guys?
Yeah, so this is kind of how we're breaking things down, is very much that. It was kind of the mint passport phase, and we've kind of passed that, and we've been kind of heads down building, creating content. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening, and the community know this. They can feel it. They turn up to the campfire councils once a week on a Thursday and listen in kind of what happens week to week. So they really get a feel that we're getting close to some deliverables. And one of them locked in, just to give a bit of alpha for anyone listening. One of those announcements will be locked in for the 18th, so Monday. So that's kind of, I feel like these last 6 weeks we've been almost like a coil being tightened up, and it's about to spring, and we're going to have a bunch of cool stuff to talk about, and kind of focus on what's to come rather than having just the narrative of where we've come from. So it's exciting, and it's kind of hard because when you talk about the future, you kind of don't want to give too much away. So it would be nice to actually be able to fully, openly talk about what we've been working on. So excited for that.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool. Well, we appreciate you hopping on. I think this was a pretty good chat. We covered a lot. There's a lot going on in the Woodies universe. So, or Woody's world, I believe is how you guys are wording it. So, definitely. If you listen to this, keep track, keep your eyes on this Woody's project. I think it's one that seems to be around for a little bit already, and still a strong community. So it's a good one to keep watching, and we'll definitely be keeping in touch with you guys over here at Lucky Trader. So thanks for hopping on. We will be back tomorrow for some more videos and other interviews. So thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you for having us.